Will be.
Is it going?
Where's our video?
I think it's going. Yellow.
It's live.
Are we live?
It's live.
Let me kill the, what do you call it? There we go.
Okay, there's the chat.
Well, howdy guys, Rex here. We must be live. Very exciting. So we're here to answer questions about long-range strategy and go over any questions you might have on stuff. Just hanging out. We're battle testing this goofy live stream deal again. And trying to see. Hey, there's 68. Dude, hey, there it is. There's the mode. See, we're figuring it out better this time. Well, good evening. So can you read that? Yeah, Casey said she didn't have the proper makeup or some damn thing, so she's wearing the lady in the alley clothes there. Going to pass off the suitcase. So it's been a long week. You guys get to do any shooting? Night vision. Okay, question. IR night vision clip-on. That's a good question. That's something we plan on doing in the future here again. Is I'm getting in contact with some of the different night vision outfits, and I'm still collecting some observation on the new stuff. There's a lot of stuff that's come out in the last decade that I've been unaware of in terms of night vision technology. I kind of have my personal preferences. I really like IR for a lot of reasons. I think that stuff is incredibly effective for identifying targets. A lot of guys, it depends on your application. If you're going to run IR for navigating and for an all-purpose unit, I think maybe one of the best ways to go, or for night vision rather, is to do just the standard starlight technology on something like a monocular that you wear, and not necessarily the infrared. And then you would use a laser designator, like an IR designator that you run on the rifle, and then you can just point shoot with that thing. That's what most of the infantry guys like to run. It seems to be a lot less fussy, a lot more heavy duty reliable. You got an IR designator on your rifle attached to the quad rail up there, and you can illuminate your targets and send rounds down range that way. And then you can still navigate when you have the little monocular on your head. And I'm actually preparing, I've got a lot of footage of some Armasight stuff, a little monocular. I think it's called the Spark, S-P-A-R-K. And so we're going to come out with that review soon. We're doing a lot of shooting in the dark. That's a good way to run for like a carbine, or for running around. You can also run like a pistol or something, and you can put a laser. She's getting nervous. You can put like a laser aiming module on here, is what they used to run on these Mark 23s, and then you just wear your night vision monocular, and then you just kind of laser beam and whap them. Hush down the puppies, they say. So that's a good way to run that. For precision rifle shooting, there are some advantages to a dedicated night vision optic. If you're going to do IR, that's probably a good way to go unless you got a lot of money. The issue that comes up running the clip-on units that go in front of the rifle scope is that getting that perfectly mounted to where it's uniform is like incredibly difficult to pull off. And even some of the top units that have been tested, I was reading through some of the congressional hearings or reports that they do when they're going through these contracts, trying to decide which of these night vision devices and infrared VAS devices and all this stuff they're thinking on clamping on those units. And it's interesting that the thing they wrestled with most was the mounting systems on a lot of them, because it's got to mount exactly the same, because your scope is trying to look at an actual projected computer screen. I don't got any night vision laying on the desk here, do I? But you have a screen, and it's like a little, you know, and if that sucker, any of those internal components for that screen display get just tweaked even a hair, it's going to radically throw you off. And so a lot of, even some of the high dollar units experience like a full mil of shift when you remove the night vision device, the IR. So there are a few units that work pretty good, but they cost more than like a brand new motorcycle. So the technology is still being developed in that area. I think some of the dedicated stuff by Armasight and by some of these other outfits, I got some notes here. Yeah, that's a good question. Yeah, FLIR, the PVS-27 is probably one of the better ones. There's a clone That's a pretty good one that some of the guys who are the experts in that field that I've talked to recommend nowadays. And the technology is evolving so rapidly. New stuff is coming out all the time, but it's still pretty expensive for good stuff. That's as expensive as like a brand new motorcycle. What's that?
Have you heard of the new Nosler RDF bullets?
The RDF Nosler? You know, I haven't been shooting Noslers in years. I'm so conservative with my equipment selection that if I find something that works, I will run it until I run the barrel to death. So, for example, I also shoot bullets that are a little cheaper, so I've gravitated towards Sierra. I shoot a lot of Sierras, and I shoot a lot of AMAXs. That's primarily what I shoot for my target shooting. You know, some of the premium grade bullets I haven't got a lot of trigger time on, especially the newer stuff, because I'm not one of these guys who likes to jump around a lot and experiment when it comes to those. If I find a bullet that works for my application of fire, I will basically kind of sit there because it takes so long to develop tables and collect peripheral experience just on all the weird stuff that bullet's going to do and how it acts in the wind and all. I mean, it's really like a marriage when you choose a bullet and a load. You want to stick with that load bullet combination as long as possible because, I mean, there's a lot of details. So that's my excuse for not being familiar with a lot of the brand new bullets. That being said, it depends on your application. Of course, target bullets are usually pretty cheap and sometimes are lightly constructed. If you plan on doing hunting, you want to get a bullet designed for hunting because jacket thickness and how the core is retained and all that's going to be a huge issue if you're hunting game. So if terminal ballistics is an issue for tactical penetration or hunting applications or hard targets or whatever you're doing, then you need to start paying attention more to bullet construction. But for my applications of shooting a lot of targets and stuff at long range, I just run your standard match kings and stuff like that. Typically, when I hunt, I do like Nosler partitions. Those are an excellent bullet and they fly good at long range.
Any suggestions on how to get a Springfield M14 to shoot distance?
The Springfields, the M1As, M21s, M14s, that whole family of rifle, and you can even include the Ruger Mini 14 in there, are somewhat difficult to get a lot of precision out of. A lot of guys have done it. A lot of the armorers, you know, especially when they made the M21 platform, for those who don't know, that's kind of the designated marksman sniper rifle that they would run in tandem with the actual snipers. A lot of times the Marine Corps would use those, or even the Army has fielded them, and they typically run like a Redfield auto ranging trajectory scope on there that automatically compensates for the range. And those rifles have to go through a lot of armorers' expertise to get them up to speed to have a decent amount of consistent accuracy. The challenge there is you have that big actuating rod, part of the gas system, and it's kind of a long piece of metal that flexes differentially as it heats up. And when that action works, when it seats back and that bolt, or when it seats back forward and the bolt locks up, if that actuating rod is touching in different places at different times, which it will because there's kind of it's a long piece, and there's all kinds of little spots where it can rattle and touch depending on the angle of the rifle, how it's being held, exactly how it locked up. It's going to create inconsistent harmonic anomalies, and if you have it touching just a little bit on one shot, it'll throw you off maybe this much. And then for the next 3 shots, it's not touching there, then you'll have a real nice group. So typically what you'll see in a lot of those rifles is real good groups, pretty consistent, but then you'll have a FLIR like way the hell off to the side. And that just is with the design of the weapon. There is tricks, but you have to go to like an M1A or an M14 armor to straighten out those harmonic anomalies, who knows what they're doing. And there are people that are into that, so check with those guys. It's tricky, and a typical gunsmith might not know what to do to straighten out an M14.
So .243 versus .308 primarily for target, occasional whitetail.
Sure, yeah, 243 versus 308, hands down, the 243's external ballistics are vastly superior to a 308 for target shooting. You have a lot less recoil. You have a ballistic coefficient of 500 as opposed to the lower 400s. You get a better muzzle velocity. So the external ballistics on a 243 Winchester, let's say with 105 grain AMAX is loaded up like to 2950, maybe 3,000 feet a second. It's going to be very almost identical to 300 Winchester Magnum with 190 grain Sierra Match Kings. in external ballistics. So your drop and your wind is going to be almost exactly the same. The difference, obviously, will be your terminal ballistics, which is your power. And so if you're hunting, you know, but the thing is, too, with a 105 grain bullet, it doesn't take that long with the higher BC and the higher velocities for the 243 to outpower the 308 at a little bit longer ranges, and your sectional density is a little higher. The 243 actually is very effective on deer. However, I don't recommend hunting large game at long ranges unless you use an enough gun, because you are starting to lack in the power category. And if you want to be an ethical hunter, you want to use enough guns. So maybe something like a magnum would be better for hunting applications where you're going to harvest animals. That's my opinion. Guys, if I've killed deer out to 400 and the bullets with the 6mm 243 caliber bullets, and like a 100 grain spear pot core will fly all the way through the thick body on a mule deer, no problem. It'll ricochet on the hill behind it, even at 400 yards, which is medium range. That's not really long range. But for long range hunting, you want to use a big magnum. But 243 is a great deer cartridge if you stay inside 500, and you can kill them farther than that, but I wouldn't recommend it.
Opinion on using G1 versus G7 ballistic coefficients?
Well, if you have access to G7, for those who don't know, G1 versus G7, there are different ways mathematically that you can profile a ballistics aerodynamic character, which is basically different math equations. The G1 is kind of an old system, and it became the industry standard a long time ago, and so that's what's most commonly used in reference when people are comparing how aerodynamic long-range bullets are, so they can see how fast they decelerate, how much they're deflected by the wind, how long they maintain their speed, and all that stuff. The thing is, and you can watch the video I did if you type in on my channel, or just type in Rex Reviews G1 versus G7. I do a whole video explaining that. G7 on your modern lower drag bullet profiles, especially bowtail bullets, is going to be giving you a more accurate representation of the ballistic character, and it'll give you the correctly shaped rainbow, if you will. G1 can be corrected for that, kinda, but there are, if you're paying real close attention, you're shooting tiny targets, you're going to notice how it's disjointed, because when they correct for it, it's not in a linear fashion. So G7 is better if you have access to the numbers, and Brian Litz publishes a lot of that stuff too, in terms of like the corrected ballistic coefficient values, and those are good numbers to use. He does a lot of experimentation on that stuff.
What about shooting in rain?
Shooting in rain? Okay, there's a few things that happen there. You got to be careful. I mean, the guy can shoot in rain all the time. A lot of people are going to be worrying about external ballistics, but I would tell you to be worried more about internal ballistics. Shooting in range can potentially be dangerous with a high-powered rifle. What can happen, especially when the barrel gets real hot, and Paul McCoy and PRS Precision Shooters can tell you about this, but if you got like a barrel that's you've been shooting a lot out of, and you get water in the chamber, what can happen is severe overpressure issues. If you got like drops of water in the chamber, and then you close that round in there, and it's when you fire, you're going to instantaneously steam that round, and you can have steam expands like 1,700 times, or I mean water, when you boil it, expands 1,700 times, and there's nothing in the universe that I know of that can stop it from expanding. So it'll smash stuff, it'll spike your pressures, it'll be a horrible situation. So you got to be very careful to keep your chamber dry when the rifle gets really, really hot, especially. That can be detrimental. Also, you don't want water getting down in your bore. If you've got if the front of your muzzle is filled with water and you still pull the trigger, you're going to wreck stuff. It's dangerous to shoot when it's raining. Aside from that, I mean, a lot of guys run condoms on the end of their barrel, actually, and they put a little, you know, a rubber on there, sorry. And then, or like a piece of tape doesn't really work for that, because water can get in there and that can actually collect it. Tape works better, like electrical tape, for snowy conditions. But a lot of guys run muzzle protectors, like, you know, infantry guys are issued a deal that slips over the flash hider on the A2 flash hiders. It's a little plastic cup, and you just put it on there for conditions like that, so that your barrel doesn't get filled with water. That's something you want to watch out for. It might not kill you, but it'll deform stuff, and you might not know it right away, but your rifle will suffer after that.
Thoughts on AR-10 chambered in 6.5 Creedmoor?
Oh, yeah. Well, the 6.5 Creedmoor is a new, super popular round, and I'm not one to jump on bandwagons very quickly. Like I said before, I'm very conservative on my choices. I err towards the side of logistical superiority. a lot of times, even if the round is ballistically superior, more efficient, more well-designed, more inherently accurate, I'm very hesitant to jump on a round unless it has serious things to offer in terms of advantages. That being said, the 6.5 is a very efficiently designed cartridge. It might be one of the better ones designed in modern days for the precision rifle application. It's a low recoiling round. You get like half the recoil. And I interviewed Paul McCoy. I didn't post it yet on the YouTube, but I plan on posting that interview. He was just up here last weekend. We got to talk to him about 6.5. He's kind of an expert. He's got a lot of experience running the 6.5s. He says that's like his favorite round, and he lists out all the really good reasons. But to give you a quick synopsis, it's lower recoil. It pushes your max effective range out well beyond that of a 308 in terms of like, I mean, you got 30% wind hold off. You can shoot out 1,200, 1,400 pretty effectively with the 6.5, given the forgiveness you get externally. So for target shooting, it's a very good round, a very good, efficient, high ballistic coefficient. In an AR-10, I think that that's a viable configuration. I think that a bolt rifle might be, that's the way I would gravitate because I wouldn't want to lose my brass. And I'm a loading guy, so I don't want my brass to get the crap knocked out of it. And when you're extracting them on an AR-10 rifle like this critter right here, oh yeah, it's snagged. But when you're extracting your rounds with a gas impingement system, you know, it's gonna deform your brass. So I would prefer a bolt rifle because the brass is a little more expensive. And the thing about 6.5 Creedmoor is it has really good quality factory ammo available over the counter, so you don't have to be a reloader to get those to shoot really stupidly well, and they're inherently accurate. So that's a good round to go with in general.
What are your thoughts on the short mags for long range shooting in the 300 WSM?
The short mags? I'm not, you know, I think for hunting applications, that's a good way to go. Like I said before, you want better terminal performance if you're going to actually take game and be, what do you call it? An ethical hunter, because you don't want to just wound animals, man. So if you got a little more horsepower, the short magnums, there's a few of them that a lot of gunsmiths don't like for a few different reasons. I mean, the guy can read about that on reloading blogs and things like that, and everyone's going to have an opinion. My opinion is I like the classic cartridges. Like I said before, I'm old school. I've never had problems with belted magnums hanging up really. Well, I have maybe in a 7mm magnum. Some of that stuff is inherently designed better on the short magnums. They're rimless, which is a good design characteristic. They're short and fat and stout proportionally. They do have a little bit accelerated throat wear. Sometimes based on cartridge dynamics and proportionality. That being said, I think if for applications where you're not going to just be laying down all day shooting, it's not something I would recommend for like practicing a long-range game, because for those practicing long-range precision shooting, target shooting, you're going to shoot a lot. And cartridges like that are going to burn you up quick. They're going to exhaust you at the recoil. They're more expensive to shoot. There's more horsepower and recoil than you need to have. A more efficient cartridge designed with not quite as much horsepower might be recommended for those applications. Really, magnums are special purpose rounds, in my opinion, either for hunting or for engaging actual like targets that are dangerous or whatever, that you need to kill the target. You need enough terminal performance. Or if you're shooting an extreme long range, like over 1,000, then that extra power will get you there externally.
Rex, can you talk about the 300 RUM and its similarities and differences between 338 Lapua ballistically?
Okay, 300 Remington Ultra Magnum. That's a good cartridge. That's probably one of the better Ultra Mags in my opinion. Brass is now kind of universally available. It did become almost a mainstream cartridge there for a while, and it's asking me to compare it to the 338 Lapua.
Yes.
The main issue, and they're practically for most target shooting applications in the general same vicinity. Now, a lot of people might argue with that, but I'm just being very general here. They're both going to get you out way farther than you can probably reach in terms of how much land you have access to, or how far you can see, or what your optics are going to limit you to, or what the wind is going to limit you to. So both those cartridges are going to get you out to 1,500 at least. Depending on your atmospheric conditions. That being said, I preferred, and I did a lot of selection process when I went through my selection, and I rolled with the 338 Lapua because I did want the heavy 300 grain bullet profile. I plan on shooting that. I like the BC of 762 or whatever the heck it is on the Match Kings. I forget what it is offhand right now, but it's a very, very stout bullet. It is a good crossover. If you are going to take large game at long ranges, you can kill deer with that thing. You know, as far as that bullet will get there, a 300 grain bullet maintains a lot of momentum. A 30 caliber will be good too, but a 300 grain out of a 338 is very good in terminal performance. It's almost a crossover. It's the entry level anti-material round too, if you use the right bullets. Most of your target bullets ain't going to accomplish that. That being said, the brass in the Lapua Magnums is like really, really good quality. So components in the 338 Lapua Magnum, typically, you know, you're going to find normal brass, you're going to find Lapua brass, and the design of the cartridge, the thickness of the case design has been thickened tremendously to deal with pressure issues. I think it's a more purpose designed round for long range precision applications. It was developed in part by the United States Navy, handed over to Finland. They completed development of it, and they came out with an incredible round that was very well thought out and engineered by teams of scientists that did a really good job. So I roll with 338 Lapua Magnum personally, but if you can, it's expensive though too. You need a big action. I think the Remington Ultra Magnum too, some of those like to have a bigger action. Yeah, it's a little cheaper to shoot the RUMs, but I do like the Lapua Magnum, partially on ammo, components, and the quality of the brass.
Oh, where to go here? Which rifle would you take with you to hell and back?
To hell and back?
To hell and back.
AK, probably a Kalashnikov. This stupid thing will never stop running. Easy question for me. I love the AKs. I think the Kalashnikov is probably the best battle rifle there is that a guy can get. I think they're just they're good one, and you can run them as fast as you can run an AR once you know what you're doing. If you don't believe me, you can check out. Well, there used to be videos you can watch, guys, if you can't watch them in person, but then commandos from East Europe really can. I mean, mag changes and stuff just as fast as your high-speed AR-15 guys. It's just proficiency with the weapons platform. They're a little more crude, obviously, but that's why I would probably take it to hell and back.
7mm 300, and it's 195 pills.
Inquiring minds want to know about that. Yeah, that's the new Berger 195 grain Elite Hunter bullets. They're stupidly awesome. And I was just out with Mr. McCoy this last weekend, Paul McCoy, the guy who built the rifle, and we were printing them in there with crappy, horrible mirage conditions, and we both weren't comfortable, and we're both very rusty, haven't shot all winter, and we're printing 5 shots in there, you know, under a ½ inch. It's a great round, and they're going to fly excellent ballistic coefficient of like 700 and something. They're really good. And I'm pushing them at almost 3,000 feet a second out of that 7mm 300. It's going to be a real laser beam.
What do you think of the FNAR?
The FNAR, would you say?
FNAR. FNAR.
I can't see what you're reading there, so I'm not sure.
What do you think of the FNAR?
The FN?
The FNAR?
I don't know. I mean, when I was, once upon a time, we'll put it like that, I carried an M16A2 that was the FN rifle, and a lot of the platoon sergeants called it like, oh, there you go, wield that Colt. And I looked at the receiver and it said Fabrique Nationale on there. And I thought, this ain't a Colt, this is an FN. But FNs are good rifles. If you're asking about FN AR-15, I presume you're asking about, they're one of the few, I believe, and I'm not an expert on the AR-15 platform. There's a lot of other guys you might want to ask on the history of that, but I think it's one of the few that actually won some major government contracts where they're actually issued a lot. And there's a lot of stuff on the internet of people claiming certain makes and models were government contracts, and my experience has shown that not all that's maybe entirely representative of how much of a contract. A lot of stuff is fielded for testing, but FN did make a lot of the M16s, and I've seen piles of them. So they're a good weapon. I mean, it was tough as hell. I remember one night we were doing a night fire course, and it's where you're burning up tracers, and the ammo guys didn't want to have to re-inventory the ammo, so they make you burn it up. You got to shoot it all off. And so everyone else was leaving for the day, and they had me and my buddy, his name was Michael, and they're like, all right, you two guys stay here and burn up all this ammo. And it was like a pile of 30-round magazines, like half as tall as we were, full of tracers in the dark. And we're like, okay, this sounds fun. Yeah, that was fun for the first 2 minutes. Then you start getting exhausted just trying to shoot that stupid thing, you know? And then you put it on 3 rounds trying to get them out of there faster so you can go eat something. And like it was crazy. Eventually, Michael's rifle dieseled on him. And I remember watching, I was watching for the red glow to start, and the barrel, it was pitch black, and the barrel just did like a dull red glow. And he slams in the mag, hits the bolt release, and the bolt slams shut and just whack, empties the whole rifle right there. And then the plastic on the front where the gas block is, woof, a little tiny blue flame came out. It actually lit that fireproof plastic on fire. So we threw the rifle on the ground, and the sergeant ran over and kicked a bunch of dirt on that thing. Said, "You better not touch that effing rifle for a while. It's pretty effing hot." Like, yeah, no kidding. So, and that rifle still qualified, was the point of that story. He qualified expert, you know, just like a week later with that same rifle, nailing targets like nothing. It zeroed it, didn't even change it. And I don't know how many, like hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of rounds we shot through that thing, you know, in a row, but we lit it on fire and it still qualified. So FN builds their stuff good, just like Colt or any of the other government contractors.
Somebody kept asking about the rain. He was talking more about once the bullet.
External ballistics. Okay, so I gave you the warning on the internal ballistic considerations. You want to be very careful with internal ballistics, not blowing up the rifle. Really, if your rain is so bad to where it's obstructing your visibility, you're not going to shoot far enough for it to affect you. It's surprising how little the rain has an effect at ranges where you can see through the rain. So if you can see the target through the rain, likely it's not going to have a huge negative effect, especially in northern latitudes. If you get in the tropics, you're going to find that the rain droplet size is drastically different. So in tropical environments, you have a different effect. But at contemporary or whatever environments like North America, like continental US here, your rain actually, when it's come down through the atmosphere, it comes down as snow, even during the summer, and it melts kind of, there's a certain zone where it starts to melt, and then it comes down. So the rain particle, the droplet size is very small in most of our environments. You know, maybe, I don't know, down in Florida, some of them areas you get the tropical size raindrops, but there's a huge difference. And in those environments, your visibility is going to be limited, and it's not going to affect you enough to have to dial it in or something, because you're not going to be shooting that far. So rain is something that actually kind of got called out of that category in terms of stuff to worry about ballistically, because if it's raining too hard to see, you're not going to shoot that far to have to adjust for it.
Okay. Amateur shooter is very adamant. What do you think about Creedmoor?
The 6.5 Creedmoor? I think we answered that pretty good before. We'll let Paul McCoy, he's got a lot more experience on those. From what I know, they're efficient round. The really big kicker is that they have excellent quality over-the-counter factory ammunition, low recoil, extended range, definitely better than a 308 if you're shooting at targets. Okay.
How much spin drift effect is caliber based?
How much of the spin drift? Well, you got to read the Miller stability equation for that. You can go back to instead of doing a math review, if you go on the Sniper 101 videos, you can, I think we talked about that when we did the spin drift video. So just type in or go in the Sniper 101 playlist, and I give a whole giant story on exactly what's going on. I go through the entire math equation there, but I don't want to hold up the whole class for that deal. So go back and review that. It's a pretty good video. You'll dig it.
Just quick, does anybody have any questions about the upcoming class at all?
Oh, they may not have heard about it.
We should address that.
Yeah, see, these guys, they might be top secret for them. If you guys listen, if you guys listen to the podcast show, which is on rexreviews.org, we made a major announcement last night. So maybe you guys didn't see that yet, but you want to check it out. We did a really good interview with Mr. Paul McCoy talking about what it takes to build a precision rifle that is going to win competitions and to get consistent quarter-minute accuracy. That's a bold statement, you know. It's just a procedural deal, and Paul goes over all the details on what it really takes. It's not complicated. It's just it requires a lot of tenacity in your build and attention to detail. But he goes through what it takes to build a good precision rifle. And we also have a big announcement that we're going to reveal here, and we can give them. Should we give them a?
You should just here. I'm going to take off my hat. We'll just.
What do you don't need to hide. You're fine. You'll be all right. Look at her. She's crazy. Oh. There's Casey there. She was
Hi,
hiding the whole
guys.
time. She was scared. I can't be on video. I didn't go in the makeup booth for 3 hours.
I did want to mention I am sick today. I was not feeling super great, so
join the club, man.
Whatever. But
I just put this hat on, see? And so I find the suit jacket, I throw it on over all my muddy clothes, and then I'm ready for business, see? But yeah, we're doing RX17 in Dallas, Texas in mid-June, Father's Day weekend, guys.
Heck yeah, and it's going to be awesome. We have a lot of great people coming down. Tickets are on sale now. You can find tickets on rexreviews.org.
Yep, and I'll put a link after this video is done, after we're done live streaming or whatever this is, and I'll give you a link to that too. Dallas, Texas, it'll be June 16, 17, and 18th. We're going to cover... so like Sniper 101 threw out so much huge information that people almost get confused from information overload. And there's a lot of really interesting stuff we covered in that series, but what we need to do is tie it all together and weave it together, those different streams of thought, into like a knot, so that you have a usable rope, so you have a usable tool. And so this is going to be a classroom seminar that's a prerequisite for in-person training. A couple other YouTube guys talked me into it because they said I was crazy for not doing training. And so I was inspired by Mr. James over there. For you guys who know James, the robust character, he inspired me. He told me I just should do it and quit complaining and being a big wuss. So I'm going to do training. I think it'll be cool. You guys are going to like it. And it's not going to just be me. I wanted to collect like the best guys that I could find to assist in the training and teach parts that would be complementary to my teaching style. So we're going to have a diversity of teaching styles there. We're going to get a lot of we got a lot of sponsors coming up who are going to, I've selected the guys who are the best in the industry at their jobs. We got like John Huber coming up, and some other really cool guys that you're going to dig from some custom outfits that has some interesting tackle that you guys are going to dig. And yeah, come check it out. And the full details, we did that podcast interview for an hour talking about the general template of what we're going to offer. It's going to cover, we're going to cover equipment selection, actually give you the straightaway truth on that, so that when we do the in-person training, it's probably going to be in September is what we're planning to do. It's going to be in the Dallas, Texas area, relatively centrally located, so you guys can fly there. DFW Airport's very close to the event, like within walking distance of the event that we're going to have in June. And then the live training. We want to make sure that you come to this event first. So this is a prerequisite classroom portion of the show where we're going to get you squared away with the equipment, because if you come with the wrong equipment, you're not going to be able to keep up with the class. So we're going to give you that whole deal, and then we're going to equip you with the strategy so that you are psychologically and mentally studied up and prepared when you come to the class. A lot of outfits, it's almost hard to just dive head first into a long-range precision shooting class if you want to get it done thoroughly, just on the fly, because it takes time to digest, and it definitely takes time to find the correct equipment for you. And so a class that has a given shooting course that has a classroom section immediately before the actual training event, you don't have time to select your equipment, buy a decent scope that's going to work, get it mounted properly, get your proper ammo, get your load worked up. So that's something we're going to spend time on.
So a lot of people have been asking if they need to bring their equipment to the seminar.
They're asking here? Even?
Yep, even.
Okay.
Yep.
So the one that's going to be in June is going to be a classroom. You need to bring a pencil and your brain. That's all you're going to need. And so we're going to get you hooked up with the information and the equipment selection information, the strategy, and we're going to give you a head start on the fundamentals on how to do it. And we're going to go over the whole thing. We're going to tie all the knots together, informationally speaking, and get you ready to rock and roll for the actual course that will come out in September. And the cost of the tuition for the seminar class will be directly deducted if you want to do the class in September, the range class. The entire cost of the seminar will just erase it off of there, because it's kind of the first half of that class. And even if you don't want to do the training class in September, if you can't make it, that's the one where you will need to bring your kit, your rifle, your ammo, and all that business. Even if you can't, what was I just talking about? Forgive me, I had a long week.
Bring your pencil and your brain.
Yeah, bring your pencil, your brain. Yeah. So even if you don't plan on taking the actual training course with the rifles, this is definitely going to streamline you. It's going to save you like thousands of dollars. You know, it's like $1.25 every time you pull the trigger and don't know what's going on. And so if you're like me and you want to learn the hard way and do it over 30 years or whatever, you'll spend more than a college degree trying to figure out how to shoot long range. So for the small price, the same price as like a Ruger 1022, a very small price compared to even to some other classes. It's going to be a world-class level training deal for you guys. So that's going to save you a huge amount of screwing around and years of battling. Like, I mean, there's just minor details that will save you thousands of dollars, replacing scopes, replacing barrels, trying to get bedding jobs done, changing calibers, changing rifles, changing reloading equipment, all this stuff that a guy struggles with trying to get your equipment alone up to speed, let alone trying to efficiently dial in a firing solution in a manner that's going to be effective and field expedient. That's another deal too, is if you want to employ these skills in the field in a timely manner, there's a specific strategy you need to employ to get that done. And that's what we're going to share in this class. And then also the fundamentals. If you don't got your fundamentals down with the shooting and rifle grip and establishing an actual zero, you're going to be chasing your tail for years, and it's going to cost you thousands of dollars at least. So the training is going to really bring you up to speed. It doesn't matter if you're a beginner level. I have kind of this gift of helping people who are on the basic levels get up to them other speeds. Don't be shy. If like you're a brand new shooter, that's kind of what this is geared for. But also, even if you're like a police sniper or a military sniper, this is going to give you a whole nother way of looking at it. We got guys coming from the precision world, the PRS world, and who have worked with all different kinds of clientele. And they do a lot of the training for, well, I can't say which outfits they are. We'll let Paul talk about that. But watch the YouTube, or we're going to come out with the YouTube interview with Paul McCoy where we talk about RX17 coming up in June, and we'll get the details there. But it's going to be a world-class training event. It'll definitely give you some tidbits, even for an expert shooter, with the amount of people we're going to have there. And their skill level, you're going to have something to take home from it, I promise. So you guys will dig it, and we'll have a chance to meet and hang out. That's the main deal. I want to meet you guys, in person. So you get to come hang out, and we'll eat the sandwich. And
the first night down there is a meet and greet. So
so Friday night is when it's going to start. It'll just be the evening. I'm going to do a little bit of seminar, a little preliminary, getting everyone ready to roll. And we're going to have some guest speakers, some surprise guest speakers. And I think you guys will dig that, and it'll be a chance for everyone to kind of visit. So if you guys need a little bit of in-person coaching on equipment selection, or you really had a bunch of questions, sometimes it's hard to answer on this text format because, conversation's more dynamic than just letters. So if you want a higher degree of communication, meet us in Texas. It'll be totally affordable. I insisted that it would be affordable for the common man. So if you can get there to Dallas-Fort Worth, for any of the guys in the area there, come check us out. We'd love to come and say howdy and meet you guys.
Where's the one? Here we go. Right? No.
Got a question?
There was a question that I wanted to address, and now I just lost it.
Okay.
Well, we'll move on. Will Lou be there?
Yes, Lou will be there. Lou and Casey will both be there.
We will both be there.
Yep, they'll both be there. They're going to cover the event. They're going to do live podcasting, maybe a little bit of live streaming. They're going to record some different reviews, because we got some of the and if you guys want to see some of this equipment firsthand, we're going to see what we can do. We got some of the guys who build some of this tier 1 equipment. If you've never seen like what a $3,500 rifle scope looks like, and you don't understand what people are paying for, you'll be able to see these things in person. We're going to have some folks there who are going to be able to show you some kit, and then just the level of information we're going to present is going to be totally worth it. So check out the RX17 review and podcast we're going to release here very shortly.
What do you think of the PAACSS?
The Primary Arms ACSS, the Advanced Combat Sighting System, I think is what that stands for. That's featured actually in the Trijicon TA31 scope, and it's a very good reticle. For those of you guys who haven't seen the review, it's one of their, I'm not like really one of these ballistic drop compensation reticle guys, because in my experience, they generally don't work unless you got the exact loading for whatever weird conditions they're shooting in. And it seems like a lot of the reticle designs are done by engineers who maybe don't shoot a lot and aren't aware of a lot of the devil in the details on a lot of that stuff. One of the things I like about the ACSS is the designer of these things actually shoots like every day, and he works the bugs out of them, and he gets them set up in such a way to where it's representative of the general bell curve of all the ammo selection you might have for a given cartridge range. So they're balanced out very well. They're very effective. I did a review with the 1-6 shooting out at like almost 700 yards. It's stupid how easy it is if you get one that works good. So out of all the ballistic drop compensation world, I like the ACSS reticle probably the best. The other ones, man, you got to screw around. You hold on the 600-meter mark, and it's like 3 feet low or something, you know. And that's too much. That's too much to be low. And you can adjust fire pretty quickly on them. But the other thing that's cool is they got wind hold-offs that are actually pretty well calculated, and they got target lead hold-offs. They're very effective. Check out our review. I think it's called the best DMR scope for under $300. It's a good review. What, are you seeing something funny there? What?
No.
What did you see?
No, I won't say it.
See, I'm lucky. My vision, I used to have 2015 vision, man. Like in this sign, this was 2020. And now, I don't know. I think I need to go to the eyeball guy.
Which scope for M1A DMR?
Ooh, M1As are hard on optics, guys. That's one of those like an FAL, like a SCAR 17. It has to do with how the bolt slams forward and locks shut. It simulates an airgun style recoil. They beat the crap out of scopes. A lot of guys say that some of the Leupold stuff is constructed in a way that can handle it. A lot of guys, if you run the configuration optics, I don't know. Yeah, I got one. Can you hold this for a second? If you run one of these like configuration of scopes like this, it's a 1-6. It's done. You see how you don't got this massive objective lens going up? It's just like a weight of the lens to circumferential area for glue ratio. And scopes that have this general profile seem, in my experience, to be more heavy duty. Is that tearing you up? You cool with that?
It's okay.
You dig it?
Kind of heavy. It's kind of a list.
So something like this, these actually stand up to like Kalashnikovs, which is very, very similar too. Actually, the PAs are good for that. The 1-6s are similarly configured optics like this. If you want something cheap, that's the way to go. Otherwise, maybe a prismatic scope like a Trijicon, or Steiner makes some, PA makes some really nice prismatic optics nowadays. Oh, sorry. And they're pretty stout, so. Oh, there's stuff laying around here. Oh.
This is like a blanket.
Oh, you guys are curious about this thing? This is a 243 Remington SPS redone. This is a AWT, Applied Weapons Technology chassis. Actually, one of the most ergonomic chassis I've ever used. It's just like very, very comfortable. It's a little goofy. It's got a kind of a, oh man, I'm ramming the ceiling tiles. It's got a little bit of a goofy of a configuration in terms of like it's like a Batman rifle. Like this is what Batman uses right here. It's very Mall Ninja. It looks cool. It's very well made. But the thing about it is very ergonomic. I don't know if I'd want to use this in and out of a vehicle or deer hunting where you're climbing up mountains and snaking on branches and stuff like that. But for employing rifle from a static position, this is my like go for zapping rifle, prairie dog rifle, or target shooting. I do a lot of like, I shoot this 243 a lot at 1,100, 1,200 yards. Yep, and you got that really nice adjustable cheek piece, accuracy international style mags, right? So a short action. And right now I got a Steiner. That's a Steiner optic on there, which is actually like Steiner's really, really good. I didn't think for the price. I got this for a steal, like I want to say $1,400 or something. It was like some kind of factory experimental model that they couldn't sell, and it's like it's nipping at the heels of some of your other tier 1 German stuff. So this is your tier 1 quality type glass. I really like the Steiners, and I don't like the company. They're so cocky, but you know, sometimes people know how good they are, and I guess they're allowed to be cocky. Oh, and then this deal, this is kind of goofy, and it's like, this not a grenade launcher or nothing. This is one of them top secret type deals that guys like us use when no one's looking, because like, I don't know if you guys, my nerves have been shot in the last 2 years, probably due to the nerve gas they gave me. They injected a bunch of mustard gas derivatives into my veins because I was sick, so they had to do that to kill the whatever the hell it was in there. And so anyways, after all that business, like I am twitchy, my face goes numb, my fingers, I can't feel them, stuff like that. I just have a hell of a time shooting compared to how I used to be. I'm not even in that category of like being able to be steady anymore. So devices like this extends your bipod. This is made by Accuracy Solutions, I think is what they are. And this, it looks like it's heavy, but it's actually solid carbon fiber. It weighs like nothing, like a piece of styrofoam. And you put your bipod down like this. You ready for this, Casey? Okay.
Whoop, whoop,
Okay. So you put your bipod like that, but then you can extend this. See this? So you can move that out like this, and then you can move it out farther if you want. But what that does is, that's a little goofy, isn't it? That looks awesome. But that extends your bipod out, and I got a quick detached deal on the bipod here, so that you can get a much more stable platform. It's simple geometry, guys. If you got a longer footprint here, you have to do a lot more movement on this end to get the crosshairs to wiggle. So if you're wiggly like I am in the last 2 years, this is like what crazy grandpas like me do, right? And I'm not a grandpa, but just like, I mean, I have the nerves of one. So if you got problems wiggling and can't get a sight picture, this is like one of them cheating deals. Yeah, you can get stupid steady even without toe support. So that's one of them top secret deals. I was going to take this out today, but then I started recording videos. So, oh well. But yeah, and then you got your awesome grip on there. What's that?
Somebody asked if we will be doing live feed at the event.
There might be some live feed at the event of some of the people who are going to be there in terms of showing off their products and stuff. That's kind of what we want to provide for them. But of the event itself, is proprietary information, and the other people who are training with me have some really proprietary secrets that they employ in the competitive shooting world that make them win, and they're not going to want to live stream that. So there's going to be a lot of information. It's not going to be any new scientific information from my end. It's going to be application of the skills, the strategy, and marksmanship tips, and how to zero your rifle correctly. You guys think your rifles are zeroed? Maybe they're not. Do you ever chase your zero around forever? And you know, like moving all over the place, and you keep adjusting, and you adjust your load, and you think you have a, there's weird stuff that happens. And so this, some of the guys we have talking at this deal are going to be really cool. They don't want it to be live streamed because it's going to release their trade secrets. But if you do sign up for the event, that's going to be the gold nuggets you're going to walk away with. So I can't say that we're going to live stream that stuff. But when we're showcasing some of the guys and their technology, the new technology that's out on the market, that will probably be live streamed. But none of the seminar, the training material will be. That'll be proprietary information for those who sign up for the class. Sorry, guys. I wanted to release it, and I want to tell you right now, but Paul would drive up here and tackle me if I told you guys his top secret stuff, because he wants to maintain that edge he has. He does that PRS precision competition stuff where you run around like a crazy person shooting at like 1,000 yards. Them guys are actually pretty high speed.
Okay, 9 out of 10. Can we purchase access to live stream?
That's a good question. I don't know how that works. We can ask Paul, or maybe you would know. We'll talk about that. That's a good question. We'll look into that. If you can purchase a live stream deal, that's a really good idea. Yep.
We might be able to do like a recorded version.
But guys, it's on Father's Day weekend.
Yeah.
That's like that's the one weekend where you get to tell the woman that you are going to go to the rifle class because it's Father's Day, and they can't tell you nothing. Well, and you can even take the son there. He would love that. Pass it on, father to son. That's why we picked that date, guys, because there's no excuse. You can't. Everyone has it off. Well, I won't probably have it off. Well, if you have it off, if you don't have to work or something, there's no family excuses getting in the way of a Father's Day weekend. That's going to be the most awesome time you're ever going to spend on a Father's Day. We're going to have a lot of fun, guys, so I hope you can sign up for that.
I was going to say, and besides that, how are you going to get to meet us?
Yeah, you got to hang out with us.
Yeah, we
all these years of sitting, you get to see how beautiful I am in real life. You're going to love that deal.
Going to travel to Las Vegas.
Vegas? What did they say about Vegas?
You want to go there?
You know, we're considering doing some training events in the future. If you guys have any place that you want us to come train you at, or if you want us to do any scheduled training events, if you got a police department, an SR team, a SWAT team, or a military unit, or a group of guys, whatever. If you have cowboys, deer hunters, I don't care. If you're a good American citizen that fits our criteria of wanting to support the Constitution of the United States, we will come help you out. Send us an email to, what's our email?
Our email is trex.raves@gmail.com.
trex.raves@gmail, not reviews, raves, like RAVES @gmail.com. Send inquiries and just label it in the description, training inquiry, and we can possibly line up some custom training. I am starting to do that now. So, but this event is going to be in Dallas. We want to keep it centrally located where we can get the most people. A decent, and it's easy to get to Dallas-Fort Worth Airport. Pretty much everyone flies there. It's a big central hub. So you should be able to attain and shop for your plane tickets on Tuesdays. It's a lot cheaper, like way cheaper, hundreds of dollars cheaper sometimes.
Yes. Also, there is going to be a limit on seating in Texas, so you do want to get your ticket right away.
Yeah, it's going to be limited capacity. The Dallas, what do you call it, that place? Bass Pro Shops or something?
Yeah.
I'm not familiar with that venue. I did look it up on the computer. That's something that my buddy Paul lined up for us. It's a very nice venue. It'll be air conditioned. They have a restaurant there. I think they have a pub there. That could be dangerous.
They have a little bit of everything.
Have a beer with Rex. Oh, no. I'm trying to lay off, guys. But, yeah, come hang out. It'll be a good time.
Wes, I appreciate you trying to spell my name. Have you built a customer rifle? Custom, I'm guessing, for Casey.
Nope.
No. Greetings from New Yorkistan.
New Yorkistan.
News on what's going on.
Oh, that's not politically correct. Well, greetings.
Can't get IOR scopes in Canada? ?
Yeah, I don't know why that would be. That's interesting. I think that some of that stuff, I don't know if that qualifies under ITAR or what the heck it is. Some of that stuff is like borderline military technology, and some countries are grouchy about letting you take them there. I don't know the laws on that. That's something I can ask Val about. If you call IOR Val Data, he will hopefully be able to hook you up with a dealer in Canada that can get you those scopes. If they are available. I don't know how communist Canada has been lately. Last time I was there, they didn't seem too bad, but I didn't try shooting nothing that much either. So,
what is most durable long-range variable magnification optic?
Most durable variable magnification? Probably one of these Steiners are very rugged. US Optics SN3s are stupidly rugged. I would say Schmidt & Bender's rugged, but they're really not as rugged as some of those other ones. They're pretty rugged. I broke my Schmidt & Bender. I actually broke pretty much everything I own. I battle tested all this. Another reason you want to come to this seminar, guys, because I will tell you which stuff actually works and which stuff breaks, and I'll tell you which stuff never to play with. That's where you're going to get the unfiltered opinion. But yeah, SN3s are very, very durable. That's a really good way to go. And I like Steiner. IOR Val Data actually is very, very rugged too. That's your Eastern European style of construction where they kind of over-engineer stuff like crazy mode. It's a little bit more crude in some ways in terms of engineering style and completion of how they machine stuff, but it's stout. Check out my Recon review. The glass is incredible. They use shot glass, the best glass in the world. You're not going to find a scope that's more clear. I haven't seen one yet. My Schmidt & Bender, it's basically that quality. It's really good. Zeiss Hensoldt, $4,000, $5,000 quality glass in those things. But they're very rugged too, the IORs. If you get the big configuration, the tier 1 configuration IOR Val Datas.
Someone was wondering how many people it would take to host a class before you would actually physically.
That's, you know, we're willing to roll with the punches, guys. The more you can get to a class, the cheaper it would be per person to help get us down there. Obviously, if you just want me to go, or I would prefer to take my main training guy down there who could really hook you up with a lot of the in-person marksmanship training. So they'd probably be at least 2 of us. So to cover our travel, and depending on how he's in Alabama, I'm in a top secret location that's far from everything. So the more people you could get to chip in on the deal, it'd probably be cheaper to get the plane ticket squared away. But I'm doing a training deal pretty soon with a guy. I can't tell you who he is, but it's just a one-man show, and there's just one guy having me come up and get him trained up. So we can do whatever you want to do. Just give us a call or give us an email, and we'll start doing that. We'll make that available. It'll probably gravitate towards weekends. when it would be available.
They want to know where to donate again.
If you want to donate, the YouTube main page has a donate button. Really a good way to donate too is you guys can get something out of this. If you want to come meet us in Dallas, pay for that ticket price, that's going to be a huge help. And that's actually one of the reasons my wife is letting me do that, is maybe pay off some of this stuff that I keep buying all the time so I can review it for everybody. It's like, why do you have to buy that for all your friends, you know? Because it's expensive. Like, you spend $2,000 on a scope to review it, and you don't make that much on Google or on YouTube or nothing to pay for that. So if you guys want to donate, I think the coolest thing to be would be come to that seminar class. You guys are going to have fun. If you feel compelled to donate, though, there is a PayPal account on the main page. That's really sweet of you guys to offer that. I really do appreciate it, and it'll take some of the burden off in terms of trying to pay for the Rex Reviews operation.
You guys should have Patreon.
Patreon? I don't know what that means.
Not sure.
Huh.
What do you think about IOR 624x56 for us guys that can't afford the Recon?
Yeah, I really like the 40mm main tube stuff. That's incredible. That being said, the 35mm would be the next step down. I would go with the biggest main tube you can afford to buy. That's going to give you a lot of optical quality. They use bigger lenses on the internal on that rector tube assembly, is where a lot of that fuzziness and crappy image comes from if you go too small. IOR, the bigger tube scopes in general are going to give you better optical quality. So if you can go with the 35mm main tube scope, that'd be awesome. A 30mm main tube minimum, in my opinion. 1-inch scopes are, oh man, it's going to be hard to do for long range precision shooting on a 1-inch scope because you don't have the adjustment range on your turrets to sometimes get you as far as you need to go. 30mm scope minimum, that's kind of what I would go. And I'm talking tube size, like this kind of rings you would need to buy for it. 35 is definitely a step up from 32.
Are bayonets obsolete?
Not if you run out of ammo. It's pretty usable then. No, bayonets are not obsolete. What?
Sorry, I'm not reading that question.
What is
it's pretty weird.
Okay.
We'll skip that one.
Oh, they're being turkeys. They see a female probably, right? Is that correct?
Well.
No, we'll
just skip it.
Okay. We won't encourage them.
Any possibilities to come train my Iowa National Guard unit infantry unit?
You bet. Give us a call. Send us an email. What do you call it? Rex.raves?
Rex.raves.
Rex.raves@gmail.com. Email us right now and we'll line something up. And for outfits like that, if you're actually employed serving the country, we can definitely work with you on that kind of stuff. But it would be our honor to help anybody out, especially active guys out there. And I mean, you can learn something from anybody, I think. There's going to be a lot of different crossover on the Venn diagram of information that you're going to learn with the different experience that I have and that Paul has. We've done a lot of observation of a lot of other shooters. So I think that it would be advantageous to just get the methodology of other shooters and how they compress data and get everything put together. So I think that we'd still have something to offer there for you guys. I know the AMTU does a very good job. Those instructors really do know what they're doing. So that's good training. But if you need supplementary form of education, give you a little boost on some of that stuff, definitely. And the extreme long-range precision shooting thing, too, is a little weird. That's something the AMTU sometimes doesn't get into in as much detail. So that's something, if you want to push out your max range a little more, we can definitely work with you on some of the weird stuff that happens out there and things that you need to tackle.
Drew EMC, what did you want to ask?
I have a question.
He feels like he wasn't answered.
Oh, man. Okay. Go ahead. All right. She's looking for you now.
I'm watching Drew. For you.
Yep.
I hear you. I see you.
E equals MC squared. I like this guy. You know what that means, right, Casey?
Yes.
That means World War III didn't happen yet because we invented nukes.
I don't know what that actually stands for.
That's the
energy equals
mass times the acceleration of the speed of light, or whatever. Yeah, the constants of the speed of light squared. Yeah.
All right, Drew. I'm not seeing you. I'm looking.
Well, geez.
You got 10 seconds, Drew.
Who else is asking questions while we're waiting for him?
All right, Shumardi. If I met you in person, we would be best friends for life.
Oh, I'm sure it's true.
Long range with SMB ultra short.
Ultra short Smith and Bender?
Must
I
be.
don't even know what that is. Am I a dinosaur? I don't even know. Did they invent some ultra short scope I don't know about?
What is the opinion? This is Drew now. What is the opinion on carbon fiber barrel or aggressive barrel fluting?
Ooh. I think carbon fiber barrel is going to be great for applications where you need to have an extremely lightweight configured rifle. If you're going to be climbing up in the Karakora mountain range looking for an ibex, and you're on a hunt that was like $5,000 to get over there, $10,000, equipment like that is going to give you the performance level you're going to need. It's not maybe going to be as good as like a more traditionally made chromoly or 440 stainless barrel made by a premium barrel manufacturer. But I mean, carbon barrels are going to be good. They're very, very lightweight, and they still offer a certain degree of rigidity. You'll get off your 1 or 2 shots that you need to take your game at long range. So on mountain hunting trips, if you're hunting elk or chasing ibex around or going for a markhor in Pakistan or something, and you're climbing on those mountains that are stupidly huge, you're going to get winded. So for those applications, or if you can't carry heavy stuff because you can't do it, health conditions, then absolutely. And there's other advantages to them too. I prefer, for just normal shooting, I prefer weight to my rifles because recoil mitigation is a big deal. If you consider a carbon fiber barrel is going to be very lightweight, so unless you're hunting with it, if you're shooting all day with it, it's not going to be as recommended, in my opinion, because it's going to have increased recoil. It's going to be harder for you to spot your own bullet traces and spot your own impacts. So it's going to be tricky, and a heavy barrel and a heavy configuration rifle is very advantageous if you're going to be shooting all day. So I prefer heavier rifles for what I do. But if I was going to go goat hunting up in Pakistan or something, then I would want one of them.
Have you tried whiz wheels?
Whiz wheels. This thing? Look at that.
Then yes.
Yeah, I've been playing with it. I haven't got to use it yet because I've been laid up. You guys probably know I've been laid up for a while. It's an analog ballistic computer device that accounts for atmospheric variables, movers, 10-mile-an-hour winds, inclination angles. You account for like your all kinds of stuff. Yeah, this is like a replacement for your electronic millennial devices such as Kestrels. And a lot of guys run those, and even the military is gravitating towards Kestrels. And those are the Horus Kestrel, the accuracy first Kestrels, and they're great. They're really smart technology. I don't like that though, because I have too much experience wrestling with Murphy, and you guys know about Murphy's law. I break shit, and Kestrels break sometimes when you do weird stuff. So, and when you're under pressure, I cannot page through that thing for nothing. I don't know what's like. I can't even turn my phone on. So like old dinosaurs, old cowboys, analog stuff like this is going to be a little more user friendly, and it's never going to run out of batteries. So these are incredible. I think this is worth the money. You send in your custom information for your ballistics, and they'll build you one of these little guys. I'll do a review on one of these, when I get to shooting these. I got 2 of them. I got one for my 338 and one for a 7mm. And it's an incredible device. You can get very precise firing solutions from a tool like that, and no batteries. You can get it submerged in water. You can smash it. Still works.
The SN3, I believe is what you said, is discontinued. What about the newer model?
I don't know. I haven't tried them. I've got some of the old US Optics stuff. They used to do a lot of custom work back in the day, and I kind of wish they would gravitate that way more, because that was the cool thing. You could build your own configuration scope. You got to choose your own turrets. You get to choose your, I mean, I remember back in the day with US Optics, you could choose your own main tube. You could choose your objective lens size, and they would custom build the scope for you. And a lot of tier 1 operators actually would go to those guys. The hard target interdiction teams, the guys who take out Scud missiles, were using the SN9s on some of the anti-material rifles, because they're like big. I think those were externally adjustable, but they were, you can get a lot of neat stuff. But now they kind of went more mainstream, and I don't know, I wouldn't call them mass producing anything anymore, but they changed business philosophies maybe, and I haven't kept up with them since the big shift over. I run a ST10. It's an incredible scope for the money. SN3s, I like them. You can find a lot of used SN3s laying around. they're pretty damn tough. That new one, I don't know. I would assume it's the same general quality as an SM3, but I don't know. Maybe I've heard rumors they had a little bit of problem with smudging of the glass a couple years ago with a particular employee. That's the rumor, guys. I don't know. I can't confirm or deny that because I wasn't there. But so if you got a smudgy looking one, they'll fix it for you. Yeah, I don't know.
Once you get your un momento. I want to see how he asked.
Ted Nugent. Oh, someone said something about Nugent.
Yeah, everybody's wondering if Nugent's going to be your special guest.
I would poop myself if that happened. I think he's down there in Texas. Nugent, if you're watching this, dude, you got to come check us out. If any one of you guys knows the Ted, I will let him in for $0. That would be incredible. I mean, I think I would have a heart attack. And I don't even get starstruck by them guys, but that particular guy is just awesome.
So the question was, once you get field data, do you suggest adjusting BC or MB so ballistic data aligns?
And two different schools of thought there. A lot of your professionals prefer to adjust the muzzle velocity rather than the ballistic coefficient. There's two different schools of thought. I would probably change the muzzle velocity. It's probably an easier way to do that, and more. It's because what varies more than your ballistic coefficient is kind of fixed in reality. And if you get a number that's been corrected, like if you get one of Brian Litz's numbers, and they'll usually have a parentheses that says Litz on it, that means that he verified the ballistic coefficient using empirical testing, Doppler radar, whatever. They got a lot of instrumentation. He's actually knows the math. And so they derive the accurate average ballistic coefficients of those projectiles. So if you've got a good accurate BC in your ballistic data and you're not hitting where you should, you need to quantify exactly where you're hitting and then adjust your muzzle velocity numbers to match where you're dialed in for. And that's called truing your velocity, and that's like an important deal. And we're going to explain those things in the RX17 seminar in more detail on how to effectively employ that. But there's a lot of things that can happen with ammunition, with bore condition, with atmospheric frictional dynamics, bore wear, coppering. Your muzzle velocity is not fixed, and chronographs are very problematic. You have to have them perfectly centered. I had a debate with one of my guys on here a couple videos ago where he's ranting about the problems with chronographs, and that actually is true. So it's a lot of the stuff he said in there was very true. You have to have them like exactly square. You know, a tiny bit of an angle is going to change you quite a bit, enough to screw with your data. So truing the muzzle velocity is the better way to go, in my opinion, because the BC is more of a fixed value. There's probably guys that disagree with that, but that's what a lot of the pros are doing.
What is the best weather condition to set your base 0 for?
Your base 0, that's a good, you want to pick the median condition. So if you have a bell curve, you guys know what a bell curve is. If you graphed it out from 0 to 100 degrees or whatever your operational temperatures are potentially going to be, you want to anticipate when are you going to be shooting that rifle the most, okay? And you want to pick that highest point in the bell curve where most of the time you're right in this zone. That's when you want to zero it. That being said, when you're doing your load development too, be aware not to load up, you know, in super cold temperatures at a max load, because when the heat comes up, your pressures are going to go up. So take that into consideration. I don't know why I thought of that. It's not what he asked, but but yeah, zero your rifle for your median operational conditions. And most guys, standard atmosphere is a good way to go because most of your data is geared that way anyways. It's less work to have to not change the numbers. 60 degrees Fahrenheit is what I do. Try to do if I can, in between 40 and 60, because that's usually when I'm out shooting. You know, like if it's like I've shot when it's like -20 and it sucks, so it only happens on like special occasions. But and when it's 100, that sucks too because they're getting a heat stroke. So you know, most humans enjoy shooting in those moderate temperature ranges, so that's what I would recommend.
So CB, I think, is on our Twitter account because he said he's going to tell Uncle Ted that Trump wants to come.
Oh, all right. So if Donald Trump and Uncle Ted show up to the event, you guys are gonna have to medicate me. I'm gonna be climbing up the walls. I'm gonna be wagging my tail so hard. I'll be like Mario with the little. Remember Mario Brothers 3? You ever play that game where he has a raccoon's tail and he starts flying?
And you start flying.
He flies to Pennyland. That's gonna be Rex.
He'll fly through the entire seminar.
Yeah, I'll fly with my, yeah, it'd be hilarious.
We want to hear about the Savage 110 BA Stealth.
Okay, I haven't shot that in my own personal experience a lot yet. I've seen a lot of guys who run them, and I know a lot of guys who own them. They're a very good rifle. Savage has very consistent quality control. I don't personally like Savage because they shoot good and they're cheap, and they've been a company that was kind of like boring back when I was a kid, according to my prejudices. But that being said, that's probably one of the best over-the-counter rifles you can buy if you don't want to screw around with a lot of stuff and you just want it to shoot straight and you want to guarantee that it's going to be like a little bit under a minute. Very good rifle, very effective. Smart design characteristics, the free-floating bolt head, just the way that everything's situated with the way the lugs reside. It centers everything kind of naturally. They're smartly built. They're button rifled. They're just a good shooter. That being said, their chambers sometimes are a little bit fussy with certain ammunition, especially in the 338. I think that it was Hornady, if I'm not mistaken. Don't quote me on this, guys. If I'm wrong, correct me in the commentary, please. But if I remember correctly, it was the Hornady brass that was going off the old diagrams for how to construct their brass. And so they went with, it's kind of like Bible translations. We have the oldest translation. And then they based it on there and they find out, oh crap, that was the crappy translation because it was the wrong dimensions. And so some of that stuff for a while there, I know was very sticky in chambers, and a lot of them had to get sent back, and they recommended not using that brass. So if you're running a Lapua brass or Norma brass or any of that kind of brass, it'll run fine. But some of the Hornady stuff would get like really stuck in the chamber. And I know 3 guys that had that happen to them. So like stuck so bad you can't get it out. Even with tools, they just tear the back of the case off, kind of stuck, like horrible stuck. That's never fun.
Best REM 700 chassis under $500.
Ooh, a chassis under 500? I don't know. That's a good question. I think you can probably still get into a Macmillan for $500. HS Precision made some stuff maybe in that price. Back in the day when I used to be shopping for that kind of business, $500 would get you into a Macmillan or a HS Precision. I think those are really, really good ways to go for all practical applications. U.S. Army, I'm pretty sure, uses on the M24. That's a HS Precision, I think, that's on there, if I'm not mistaken. The Marine Corps fields that A5, I think, now. They have a few different variations of the Macmillan, but that's not a chassis. That's like a really heavy resin fiberglass kind of setup. Very, very, very good. I run a Macmillan on my Surgeon 338, and it's really good. Now, any of that stuff you do want to bed too. You want to make sure it's properly installed. Make sure the gunsmith goes through everything and does a skim job on the lugs. Just because it's a chassis doesn't mean you can eliminate that variable from the equation. More on that in the podcast we just recorded that just uploaded. rexreviews.org, the podcast interview, episode 11. 11.2 if you just want to watch the segment. We talk about that kind of stuff.
Have you tried the magneto-speed chronograph?
I got a buddy that runs that thing, and it's pretty handy, that's for sure. If you want to keep track of muzzle velocity trends, man, I am equipped. Woo! So this is an example of a muzzle velocity variation trend, okay? And what you do is you can generically plot out your curve mathematically based on ball powders. This one is for, what was it? This is for 750 grain AMAXs on a 50. So this is scientifically what you'd expect on generic 50 loads with that bullet. And so we graph that out on the computer based on various materials. And then what you do is you plot exactly where you actually do hit on your velocities on that curve and under different climatic conditions and temperature. I have temperature across the bottom here. You can't see, but from 0 to 100 degrees, I got my temperature along the bottom. Gosh darn it, that contrast is whacked out. And then if you have some weird condition, like you can see here, I make a note like, oh, it was a little bit too speedy. It was more speedy than I expected because it was above the line. And I can make a notation saying, was that the barrel hump? If you guys don't know what that is, watch the barrel erosion videos. We talk about how the microfracturing of the steel matrix in the barrel occurs and increases velocity for a short time. So you can track your muzzle velocity variation on a deal like this. In order to do that in the field, it's cumbersome with a chronograph because you got to set the stupid thing up, and it's like retarded how much stuff you got to do to keep them running. So a magneto speed for gathering empirical data in the field is very high speed, low drag way of doing it. Don't know exactly how precise they are, but if you want to get a representation of what your rifle is doing under different conditions, then do it like this. But in terms of actually zeroing in on your muzzle velocity, you want to do that retroactively. You want to true your zero ballistically and see where that bullet hits at 800 yards or whatever, and then adjust your muzzle velocity to match your observed field data.
So just quick, I saw an email pop up in the chat. I want to clarify that the realrexreviews@gmail.com does not come to us. I don't know whose email that is, but that's not ours. Ours is trex.raves@gmail.com.
I have stealth accounts too.
Oh, do you? Okay.
But I'm so busy. It'd be way more effective to give the email to her email. She's the webmaster. She actually has access to that, and then she forwards me the stuff that I need to read. Because there's like, I got 9,842 unread emails. I'm really sorry, but 2 years ago it reached the point I couldn't keep up anymore, and I try to keep up, but there's a lot of emails, guys. So I really do sincerely feel bad for not answering all 9,000 of your emails that I couldn't keep up with. But yeah, if you send it to her, she will definitely get it. And if you title it efficiently, she will shoot it over.
Oh, one sec here. What's this? CB. Uncle Ted wants to know, if he comes to your class, will you give him shit about using his micro dot on his 10mm Glock for long-range target interdiction?
Oh, I know. He does still run that 10mm Glock. The Nuge is awesome. He's got good weapon selection, you know. He likes to run that high-powered, that high-pressure 10mm. That's pretty cool. No, I won't give any crap about running his Glock with his, what is he running for a sight on there now? Does he run one of those fancy sights, they say, huh?
He said micro dot.
Yeah, I think the micro dot's cool. I won't give him any poop. I think that especially for his applications, he actually likes to engage in like a lot of furry targets. And for furry target interdiction, securing Uncle Ted's ranch, wherever he's at, you got armadillos attacking the place or skunks or whatever. A thing like that on your 10mm is going to really extend your range. Now, for combat shooting, defensive applications, I don't like to run that stuff. I just point shoot. That means you just like point the weapon and you don't use the sights at all. You just use flash sight picture, and you can get very effective at normal dude encountering range with that kind of stuff. But laser aiming modules and sights like Uncle Ted uses there, those are definitely totally viable for those applications.
$3,000 scope, go.
For what?
Just in general, $3,000.
If I had $3,000 and I could buy a scope,
yep.
Oh man, I'd probably get one of them Recons. Can you get them for $3,000, or is that a little more than that now? See, the more you guys wait on some of these optics, the more people find out how awesome they are, and they become back ordered for 2 or 3 years, and then the price goes up. So I don't know. Yeah, probably a Recon, IOR Veldata Recon. Those are really neat. Schmidt and Bender PM2 maybe. I don't think they're that cheap anymore. They used to be like $2,900 for the 5 to 25s. Like $3,700 now. Steiner, probably Steiner's your money well spent as well. If you got $3,000, you can get it at Kales. I always wanted to have a Kales.
Sorry, I'm giving a thumbs up to 700 HP vet.
Right on.
Okay. Somebody said, do you know what pearl necklace means?
Pearl necklace.
I don't know what that means.
Is that like a CIA code?
I don't know. It was weird. Okay.
Are they trying to?
Are you being scary?
That's like one of them polka dot dress situations.
Okay.
Come with me to Ghostland.
What do you know about Kales, especially the K16 1-6?
Those are all really nice. Kales does a good job.
Scope would you choose for? We just said we don't know for $3,000, Stephen.
Which scope would you choose for $3,000? All right.
All the scopes.
He's actually pinning me down now.
I
Steiner.
know.
There you go.
Steiner. All right.
Yeah, I like Steiner. I think they're really nice. They're such schnobs, though. I don't know.
Oh.
Maybe I'd choose something else.
Oh, somebody explained pearl necklace, and we're moving on.
Oh,
Berger
boy.
Alco Warner Tools Bullets.
Huh? My brain was distracted.
Berger Alco Warner Tools Bullets.
Oh, he's asking which one? Berger.
Berger.
I like Alco. They're more of a custom application design bullet. They're very I don't know what the availability is. Berger's just like kind of the industry standard. If you don't want to screw around and you want to have availability wherever you're at, Berger's like really good. that other stuff, and I always gravitate towards the side of logistical superiority. Like I said before, I shoot enough to want to be able to have the components. If I only shot like 50 bullets a year, then something more hard to get a hold of maybe I would consider. Or if I had to do some radical crazy application of fire where you required that level of amazing performance, I would go with an Alco if you're one of these like specialized mission kind of guys. But I just shoot at steel. Berger works great for me.
525 by 50 mm XTR2.
Huh?
It's a scope.
What?
It's a Burris 5 by 25.
You're gonna have to come to the seminar before I can say stuff on the internet, guys. I like European glass for a couple different reasons. They're engineered for the application of fire we do, where you're using the turrets. If you're going to be using and adjusting on the turrets, a lot of scopes have the proper configuration, and they are catering to the market properly in producing very effective configured optics. That being said, mechanically accomplishing those goals can be very difficult to achieve if you're not doing it with a certain design. A lot of these designs are done with what I would refer to as the Asian style design. There's only 3 parts that move that erector tube assembly, 3 specific parts I'm thinking of. And accomplishing a precise angular adjustment is not going to be reliably accomplished with those designs in general. Sometimes reliability, that has more to do with some of your springs and how the angles are and what kind of shape you got. There's a lot of stuff that happens to get reliable tracking and precise tracking in your optic. So I gravitate heavily towards European optics. They're more expensive, guys. But if you're going to be shooting long-range precision and you're going to be using your turrets, you're going to save a lot of money going European. Some of those, like I said, are configured nicely, and they might get you started, but I would save up more money if it were me. That's me being brutally honest. I'm sorry, you guys who got them. Oof. I hate being the bearer of bad news. I think that now the other thing too is any of the scopes you can land on one that works, and that's the thing with quality control. Nightforce was able to accomplish incredible precision in their tracking, even with the Asian manufacturer. Like, they're made in Japan, a lot of that stuff, the components and stuff, but they very, very closely vet all the parts, and they match the parts to work. So they are hand fitted by like scientists that actually get it right. If they're not doing that, a mass-produced scope using Asian parts is going to have a hell of a time working for those applications. Now, for other applications, medium range hunting, that's not even an issue, in which case you can get an over-the-counter Asian scope that's not going to be a problem at all. But for what we're talking about, it's going to be difficult to get in there. There's only a couple scopes under $1,000 that even work for long-range precision rifle, that really work consistently.
Can a Mosin Nagant be converted to a
Mosin Nagant? Yep.
Oh, thank you.
No, that's cool. Yep. It can be converted to a what?
Precision rifle.
Oh, you do like an M9130 Mosin? That thing already is a precision rifle if you run the right ammo in it and have good enough vision and practice your fundamentals. You should watch a video where we're shooting. One of the guys I shoot with a bunch, I actually grew up shooting with him. Me and him kind of would compete a lot, and he'd always beat me on the rifle. He's a better shot than me. He has better vision. He was running the M44 at 950. We're shooting the Sniperski 7N1, I think it was, right? Am I getting it conflated with that other stuff? I forget. But if you run the sniper grade ammo, it's got Sniperski, it's main factory 188 in a Mosin Nagant. You can shoot stupidly accurate, just like over-the-counter American modern rifle. And we're shooting with open sights at 950 or 940, whatever, just pretty much mostly hitting the target. So yeah, you don't need to. And a lot of guys configure these Mosins. They chop them up and do all this crazy stuff and put the Archangel stock on them. I don't like to see that. The military configures these rifles in a configuration that's done very effectively, and there's tension points. Like, if you take some of these military bolt actions parts, sometimes you'll see a screw with a spring on it just putting pressure on the barrel, and so guys sporterize it and they start chopping stuff off, and they change the entire dynamic for how that rifle resonates. And a lot of that stuff was engineered out of the rifle. The problems were engineered out by the militaries because they had to do it, because they had to do it to survive in their country. So the Mosin was designed by engineers who made it shoot very well if the limiting factor is ammunition and your skill level.
Top 5 sniper movies, go.
Oh man, oh that's a fun one. Top 5 sniper movies. I like Shooter with Mark Wahlberg because he actually uses like real equipment in that one. That's a Shitek M200 and a 408. And when they have, you know how they always have the side conversations in them sniper movies where they're visiting off to the side, just talking like, oh yeah, you gotta do this to your bullet to make it shoot farther. Like in that movie, a lot of that jargon was kind of true. Some of it was like some of that peripheral information that's almost magical that you don't ever need to worry about. But if you're shooting, what were they shooting, like 2,000 yards or 1,800 meters or whatever in that movie, that's the kind of stuff that you wouldn't need to worry about. That's where things like Coriolis effect do have enough of an impact where you have to actually go click like this, right? So things like that are going to be details. So I like that movie. It was kind of fun. And Mark Wahlberg all of a sudden became cool in the last 5 to 10 years because he finally became a man, you know, instead of a little girly dancing guy. Remember back in the day in the 90s, Marky Mark and the Funky Bunch? Remember that? There's like a singing guy that, he's not near as cool back then. But, okay, so that was one. I like, what's another sniper? Enemy at the Gates. That's a good movie. I thought that was pretty entertaining, and it kind of tells a story of what Vasily Zaitsev did. There's a movie out of Finland called White Death, I think, and I think it's in Finnish. You can get translation. That's a very good one about Simo Heiha. And then you have this Tom Berenger movies, Sniper or whatever. They're fun because they're hilarious, but they're so stupid. I'm sorry, you know what I mean? So I don't know. I don't watch a lot of sniper movies. I mean, I've seen what most guys have seen, I suppose. So I'm not like an expert in pop culture for all that business.
Okay, I have a good one.
Mm-hmm.
I want to answer this one too. If you could hunt one dinosaur, what dinosaur would you hunt?
One that would not shred me. So velociraptors are out. Yeah. Oh man. So what was that? The Lost World, where the safari guy has the big double rifle? That is awesome. I totally identified with that guy. That was me since I was a little kid. Like, I thought ever since I watched Land of the Lost that if I ever got the chance to go on a safari and to have a time machine, I would go for a giant bull T-Rex, obviously, because that's going to look the best mounted on the wall right there.
What about that big?
I'd have the necklace with its teeth.
They're even bigger.
Yeah, but you need depth charges to take them out. I don't know. Or you got to have a submarine so they stick their head out of the water to try to get you, and you shoot them with the Tommy gun. Or what was that? MP? I don't remember what they had on that old movie. That, you know, the dinosaur movie from the 60s with the submarine? That was a good one too. The Land That Time Forgot or some dang thing. That was a fun one. But yeah, T-Rex, and you'd have to use a big safari double rifle. A lot of guys say 50 caliber. That's not going to be handy enough. That's where you need to use a 577 Tyrannosaur. You ever hear that cartridge? Look it up. Cartridge is the world. A really powerful stopping cartridge. Synonymous with the 600 Nitro Express. A little more horsepower even. But that's the cartridge I need to get if I wouldn't knock my head off shooting it. Or a 585 Ignati. That would be another cartridge. And in that movie, I believe, The Lost World, when he takes that double rifle and he cracks it open on the guy. By the way, that part where you pull the bullet out of the case to make him not be mean to the T-Rex, remember in the Lost World movie? The environmentalist, like pretty boy, like, I'm going to stop the safari guy from hunting the T-Rex. And he pulls the bullet out of the case. That's not happening. Those things are crimped like you wouldn't believe. That's not without the proper tools. And you ain't going to do it with no vice grip neither, I don't think. You're going to mangle the hell out of that thing. And you're going to get it back in the chamber. But I would totally, that was a 577 Tyrannosaur, I'm pretty sure, because it was slightly neck down. So it wasn't a straight walled case. I thought it originally was the 600 Nitro, but it wasn't. It was neck down if you stop and pause it.
Huh. I would want to take down a pterodactyl just for the record.
Sega 12. Yeah, Sega 12 with #1 buckshot for its pterodactyls. Yep.
New Doppler chrono. Any thoughts?
Doppler chrono. I haven't played with one of those. I've seen that Robski has those. AK Operators Union. I'm jealous. I want one. That'd be really neat to play with. But I'll let scientists do that stuff. And then I'll just read their articles. I'll wait until a smart scientist gets a hold of one, and then I'll read his scientific journal articles.
Sorry, I was reading through these. Your favorite top 3 long-range cartridges?
Okay, 243 Winchester is probably one of my favorites because it's very cheap, very logistically available, very good ballistic coefficient, external ballistics like a 300 Magnum. I really like that one. 338 Lapua Magnum is probably my second favorite because you can really reach out there and touch something and it hits with authority. And those rifles are usually configured to have manageable recoil. And probably a 7mm Remington Magnum or one of those cartridges in that category, maybe a 300, 7mm 300 Winchester Magnum. I think those are a good balanced round if you're going to be doing long range hunting for medium-sized animals like deer or antelope. I think that's a very good way to get there in a manageable sized rifle that's not going to kill you.
Nightforce ATACR thoughts.
Very good scope. I don't like Nightforce either. It's like one of them Savage deals. Like, I don't like them, but they're really good. Like, and I'm not a Nightforce guy, but they're really good because they're over the counter scope company that everyone knows about. So it's one of them temptations not to like it because it's not as cool as some of the hidden stuff. That's a little better. Nightforce ATACR, that's a tier 1 scope almost. If it had a little bit better glass quality, and they used matched glass, which is very clear, very good. It's not going to be quite as warm as your European glass. If you're a real schnob, you're not going to have that same construction style as the European stuff, but it's like right there nipping at the heels of your tier 1 European glass. And the ATACR is very well configured. And if you actually had to use it in a fight, that's a good way to go because they have excellent quality control, probably better than some of the European stuff that has a more established brand from the old days. So those are excellent. That's probably Nightforce's best scope. And I know some guys who do some serious stuff and they use those, the ATACRs. Yep.
So there've been a couple questions. I'm just going to address them real quick so we can get them out of the way so they can quit popping up.
Okay.
I'm Casey Day from the podcast. I'm not on the YouTube channel, so that's who I am. Me and Rex are not married.
No. The wife's upstairs. She's taking care of the Rex Reviews bills. God bless her.
There's no relation.
Yeah, this is, yep.
So
she's the webmaster for the podcast. Yep.
Yes.
And my assistant. There's no way I can do this live stream without kid showing me how to do it. I would never figure it out in a million years. I can barely upload my stupid videos. So yeah, she's the technical support. And I can't read those questions either. When I'm talking, I'm so distracted. There's no way. So it's a 2-person operation here.
Okay. So moving forward, but that's who I am and that's how that works. What scope mounts do you like?
Scope mounts? You talking about the mounts or the rings or what? I suppose if you're running like a detachable, the Bobros are like probably the best in my opinion from guys I've talked to and guys that run that stuff. If you want a detachable scope mount, they repeat zero very, very well. For a traditional scope precision rifle, I like Badger stuff. I think Badger does probably the best with their rings. I like one-piece steel Picatinny rails, or for like if you got a Remington 700, for example, with a 20 or 30-minute tilt for long-range shooting. There's a lot of different companies that make those. Warren makes one. TPS, I don't know if they make those, do they? I don't remember. TPS rings are good too. I use TPS rings on a lot of things. IOR Valdata makes some good scope rails. But I like to have at least a 20-minute or a 30-minute tilt if you're going to be doing long-range shooting. Like if you're going to be trying to push it a little beyond 1,000, you need to go that way.
6.5 Creedmoor, Rex's thoughts on hunting and target.
We addressed that earlier in the podcast. You probably can get the more full commentary when we ever shut down here after a little bit and check out what we said. We talked about that for a good 5-10 minutes probably, but I think it's a very well balanced round, and I think that it has reached a point of critical mass to where it's going to be a mainstream cartridge. So if you're scared, and the thing that had me paused on being enthusiastic about it before was logistical problems. Like if it's going to be a Wildcat cartridge that burns out like a lot of these other hot cartridges that were the trend, sometimes trends don't catch on, but the 6.5 in the professional shooting world has really caught on. It's going to be here for a long time. So it's a great round, and it's very, very, very good for target shooting. A lot of guys really like that. For hunting, it's going to be great for deer out to medium ranges, no problem. And you can hit deer at beyond that with a 6.5, or even elk. You can hit them, but you really have to learn what you're doing if you're going to do that kind of stuff.
Carbon barrels worth the money?
We talked about that just a few minutes ago. I like steel barrels because I like weight, lower recoil, um, more uniform metallurgical properties. You know, sometimes when you have two dissimilar kinds of materials, you have weird things happen. Although a lot of those premium carbon barrels do shoot very well. But if you need lightweight stuff, then I like carbon barrels better. Then it's worth the money. Like I said before, if you're going to Turkmenistan or some stan over there where you're hunting exotic goats or whatever the heck, you know, then sure. But otherwise, I like weight on the rifle, so I like conventional heavy barrel configurations.
Best dry fire drill to develop fundamentals.
Dry fire drills, the best one? Oh man, I haven't done those in like 15, 16 years. I don't even remember. I remember laying pennies. You'd be laying there like this, and you'd have to be still, and they'd lay a penny on the end of the muzzle. You'd have to practice your sight picture and trigger squeeze, and you'd have to click without knocking the penny off. That's a good one. Try that one if you haven't done it. Maybe some of you have done it way too much and you never want to do it again. That's probably me.
LaRue one-piece mount, question mark?
I never really use those that much. I'm kind of a boring guy when it comes to some of that high-speed tackle. I know a lot of guys, there's a lot of participants in the Rex Reviews project that are experts in those fields. I have to consult one of those guys. I can give you my opinion, but I don't honestly think my opinion would be viable compared to these other experts in the field.
Okay. Tuition for the class can be applied to the precision rifle range class we will be holding in September. Will this class be held in Texas?
Yes, it'll be in the same general area. I do believe that Paul McCoy has a range lined up, which is going to be in the Dallas-Fort Worth area. I forget exactly where it's at. I don't have my orientation down there. But it's going to be, yep, you fly into DFW just like you did for the class, and it'll be right in that area. And we'll make sure we get transportation out there arranged for everybody so that no one gets lost. And so absolutely, yep, it'll be in the same area.
Thoughts on the 416 Barrett and the Razor HD Gen 2?
Thoughts on a 416 Barrett? I think that that's the best cartridge if you want to shoot in California. California banned 50 calibers. A couple other states might have done that. And when they banned the 50s, they had to redesign a rifle that gives you the similar performance that's not illegal. So they had to downsize the bullet. The advantage is you get more speed. It's a great round. If you're going to do hard target interdiction. Otherwise, you do not need that much poop for anything else. You don't need it for shooting bad guys. You don't need it for shooting deer or elk or whatever. Now, maybe if you're in Jurassic Park, that would be enough power. Or if you're doing if you're shooting like 3,000 meters at an SS1, a 416 Barrett might be a viable option. Where you're going to be shooting solid copper bullets. But it's a special purpose round that was really invented for the special purpose of evading California's gun laws. That's where it really has. And what scope did he ask about? Some kind of Razor HD Generation 2. Yeah. They're getting better. The Generation 2s are better than the first generation. That being said, I still think that they're not quite there in terms of if you're going to, I assume if you're shooting a 416, you're not a part of a military HTI detachment that's actually hunting scuds. So they're going to use 50s with the Mark 211 Mod O rounds for that kind of stuff. So you're probably going to be doing target shooting, which you're not going to die if the scope doesn't do exactly what you tell it to do. I think they're a nice scope for an Asian scope, but I'm not like a big fan of those myself yet. I'm waiting for them to come up a little more in consistency. Some of them run really good. I've run into a fraction in my experience, you get half and half. Some of them work okay, and then some of them still are having issues with tracking and things like that. They're very clear though. They look very nice when you look through them, and a lot of guys run them without a problem and even do pretty good at matches and stuff like that. But if I had to rely on it for a serious application, I would pick something different probably. That's my opinion.
Now, are we allowing Canadians to come
Absolutely.
to our seminar?
Yeah, Canadians, you're basically.
I suppose we could have a few Canucks there.
Yeah, you betcha.
Fine. You betcha. Oh, don't you know?
Don't make fun of the Canadians. People accuse me of being Canadian because I talk funny. I'm pretty close to Canada sometimes. I actually do get up to Winnipeg once in a while. I like Canada. Yeah, come on down.
Canadians are good. I've met a few.
Or if I wouldn't be arrested for coming to Canada, if you want us to do a class up there, let us know and we'll see what we can work out. But I'd have to call the Royal Mounted guys to see if they would tackle me or not. I don't know how that works in their country. If they still got freedom up there in Canada, I think they're pretty cool with the rifle stuff. There's still pretty lot of gun culture up there. And yeah, they're in the precision rifle shooting. I think there's a lot of guys really into that. We got a lot of viewers in Canada. But yeah, come on down to Texas. It'll be fun.
Have you tried the Athlon optics at all?
Not yet. Wait, still waiting.
Will not talk. Hey, wait, come back.
Comments are flying too quickly.
Whoa! Okay, what was the deal? Okay. Confidential, will not taking be allowed.
What's this?
Because he commented from our
contents and materials of the seminar may be confidential.
Will not taking be allowed.
Will not taking be allowed? I don't know what they mean by taking.
No, taking
pictures?
Well, note taking.
Oh, note taking. Absolutely.
Taking,
yes,
yeah.
Please do. You'll probably want to take notes. That's a good idea.
Yes. You can take notes. We're just not allowing any videos or photos.
Yeah, when we're actually doing the seminar stuff, I think that the way they're going to arrange that, because it's not just me. If it was just me doing it, I probably wouldn't care. But there's a lot of hard fought for proprietary information we're going to share with you guys. Probably keep it under your hat as best you can in terms of not reposting it on the interwebs, I guess, because there's guys who have competitive edges in the long range shooting field and depend on that for their income. So when they give you their top secret information, we ask that you be respectful with that and keep it under your hat. You can tell your kids and your church people and all that business. That's great. And definitely share the skills you learn, but don't try to profit off of it off the internet, I guess, is what we're trying to avoid.
Do you have an opinion on the Steiner T5XI? Yeah,
those are really good. I shot some of those last time I was in England. They're running those on the RPAs. Some of the British Royal Commando snipers and stuff were running those on some of their personal rifles out there. Good optic. They're used all over the world. They're actually building a good reputation. I'm getting scared. How many more you want to knock out, huh?
Let's do 3 more questions. Big 3, go.
All right, here we go.
Have you tried the new Trijicon thermal?
Someone asked me about that. I didn't even know they make thermals. I want one. I love thermal. It's just way too much fun. And it's way better in the last 10 years than I remember from back in the old days. That stuff like sucked back in the old days. Thermal's really cool. Them hog hunter guys really know about that. But we're going to actually work on night vision technology reviews here. We're going to focus more on that in the future. If I can get some inroads in with some of these outfits that produce the good stuff.
Suppressed versus unsuppressed for long range.
If you've got a good suppressor, that's a very nice way to roll. I will tell you, it will slightly affect things as the suppressor heats up and cools down. It can change point of impact a little bit. I think it resonates different, and I think that the way it mates up to the threads might change a little bit as the heating and cooling. So that's probably what changes point of impact a tiny bit. But generally speaking, it's not going to be detrimental to accuracy. A lot of guns shoot a little better because it creates on the end of your muzzle here, you got a resonation. This thing's flapping all over the heck. And if you got a big weighty thing out on the front there, it's going to create what they call a harmonic node. It's going to harmonically dampen the muzzle, which will sometimes improve your accuracy. And it definitely improves like comfort of shooting that rifle with. I hate muzzle brakes, and I hate recoil, and I hate sound. So yeah, suppressors are awesome. All right, last question of the night, guys, and then we got to floor it.
What are your thoughts on Nemesis Arms Vanquish rifle?
Oh my gosh, I don't even know what they're talking about.
Okay, we'll skip that one.
Sorry, man. Sorry, man. I really don't know what that is. Wait, do I? I don't know what it is right now. I'm running low on blood sugar. I'm gonna go eat a big steak. That's what I'm gonna do. All right.
Good.
I'm getting ready for a steak. Last question.
Good books for long range shooting as a relatively new shooter to long range.
Hard Target Interdiction, the complete 50 caliber sniper course by Dean Michaelis, available from Paladin Press. You can read the FM 23-10 if you're a brand new shooter. There was, man, The FM6-40 is incredible for extreme range shooting. That's an artillery field manual, but it will tell you a lot of interesting stuff that can be transferred over to small arms on a far lesser scale. I would look on Google Scholar Search, and that's like where the nerds go when they want to refine Google from the crazy, stupid stuff to like the peer-reviewed scientific journal articles and all that kind of business. If you do a Google Scholar, it's one of their deals. And I hate Google, but if you go on there, it'll filter out all the the best type materials, and you can look for, if you're curious about twist rates on a 30 caliber, like a 308 rifle. Say like, oh, twist rates on a 308 or a 7.62 NATO. You pull up the Army research documents from the the Ballistics Research Laboratory, where you get like articles like this thick, like scientific journals where they scientifically list out all that stuff. You can learn a lot of stuff. You want to talk about bore erosion. A lot of the information I communicated to you guys was from the Ballistic Research Laboratory. That stuff is available for public release. Do Google Scholar searches and look for the old stuff written in the 1950s and 60s on barrel harmonics. That will keep you busy for a couple years, and you're going to learn a lot. You're going to be actually pretty smart when you're done. And it's not going to be crazy people's opinions. It's going to be observed military research science. So dig that. It was fun, guys. Hey, we love hanging out with you, and thanks for tuning in. Do check out the podcast, rexreviews.org. The last episode, episode 11, look for that one. We talk about upcoming RX17 Father's Day weekend in June. Dallas Fort Worth Airport, very close, like 5-minute drive from there. Lots of rooms and lots of stuff to do in that area. Father's Day, tell the woman, the ladies, or if you're a lady, tell your man you're taking them to the RX17 course, and you guys are going to have a blast with us hanging out. So we look forward to seeing you there. Thanks for tuning in. We'll catch you guys around.
We'll see you there. Meep, meep.